So labeling a tiny, violent, high-demand group a trans-militant cult has given the fascists a huge propaganda win, and as a longtime cult journalist, I have some thoughts about that, especially about how the concept of cult can distract from the ravages of capitalism. Now, Ken Klippenstein has been tracking Trump's escalating war on trans people to avenge Charlie Kirk. Here's an example. Check out Fox bootlicker Jesse Waters with Podcast Hitler here.
The militant transgender movement, is that a domestic terrorist threat?
If you are encouraging people to commit acts of violence against the United States government or against your fellow Americans, absolutely, you're involved in a terrorist movement.
So this language tracks back to a leaked FBI document about the Zizians, a vegan tech group implicated in several murders in which many members are trans or non-binary. And the report suggests that they're way more numerous and organized than they are, and that their behavior might spread like cordyceps. But how many members are there? Maybe a dozen. Now, it's nothing new for fascists to use dehumanizing language to connect criminal actions, real or imagined, to scapegoats. But what I want you to know is that the word cult runs parallel to that pattern in its long reactionary history in American politics, which dates all the way back to Cold War paranoia over so-called communist brainwashing. Now, one of the OG cult theorists, Robert J. Lifton, who just died at the age of 99, derived his initial theories of indoctrination from studies of American POWs repatriated from North Korea. Now, he was a pacifist who valued individual freedom of mind, and he was critical of the alienations of capitalism that drive people to alternative social forms. But the intelligentsia and media industry that arose around his work adopted a liberal centrist mode that was just horny for moral panics around hippie communalism and other rejections of the Fordist world of forever war and forever work. Now, I got into cult journalism because I myself was in two cults in the late 90s and early 2000s, and this Cold War hangover cult theory was the material I found when I came out, and it was helpful, because of course bad things happen in high-demand groups. Malignant or traumatized narcissism is the leadership norm. Exploitation and abuse at all levels is the norm. You get your time and love and money stripped away from you, and someone else is deciding how you work and where you live and how much you get paid and whether you have access to proper care. Does this sound familiar? Did you see this guy say this thing in the NXIVM doc on HBO?
Nobody joins a cult. Nobody. They join a good thing, and then they realize they were fucked. Nobody's saying, yes, let me go and join this stupid fucking thing that's going to destroy my life and everybody I love.
Well, nobody chose to join capitalism either, did they? In fact, one reason the cult is attractive is that it puts a human face on capitalist systems and shrinks them down to a community scale so that, for the first time perhaps, a person might feel relief from alienation. Cults can feel like socialism, and it's not by accident that many of them offer religious promises. My position is that the cult is a localized and concentrated form of capitalist social organization. Same morality, same rules, same mechanics. So it's not like you're walking around in the normal, well-functioning world and then you slip on a banana peel and fall into a pothole called a cult, and it's totally different from everything else you've ever known. Now, have you noticed that the last several years have fed you a constant stream of cult stories and streaming docs? From the lens I'm talking about here, the function of all that stuff is similar to propaganda. You make entertainment out of busting the bad guys while reinscribing the social status quo. It's easy to consume cult content as if it were true crime content, consoling yourself that your life could be worse and the cult hunters are winning. But the comforting and also smug response to the cult doc is, well, at least I'm not that stupid, and I wouldn't be so sure. Think about it this way. It's really good for Jeff Bezos to have a dramatic spotlight on Keith Raniere, who is a sociopath and deeply harmed a lot of people. But in terms of overall social damage, he doesn't register a blip in comparison to one of the richest men in the world with countless delivery drivers who have to defecate in their vans, or banking ghouls who spark recessions or finance arms for genocide. I'm not saying cults are fine or no big deal. I'm not saying join a cult. Cults can mess people up. My point is that it's good to listen carefully to cult experts to understand what their politics are, or if they even have any, beyond Red Scarism or be afraid of weirdos. Or else you could wind up using cult theory instead of fascism theory to describe Trumpism, just like this guy did, only to turn around just a few years later to get hoodwinked by some gender fascists into believing trans kids are trans because of trans cults. Here's what's at stake. If your analysis of cults is coming from people who have no larger critique of capitalism, you're being distracted from the roots of fascism in the status quo. You're being told to avoid the bad forms of capitalism and to invest in the good forms. So when the fascists use the word cult to describe a powerless group, it'll just sound like absurd defamation instead of a part of a long-term strategy to protect the status quo. Bottom line, if we want cults and the fascists to wither away, one answer is to build anti-capitalist community.